Morning glory and evening grace, America. It's Hugh Hewitt. Thank you for listening to the program today. Normally on Friday at this hour, I will do an hour of the movies, but I'm going to do something completely different today because it really does deserve. It is about a movie. It's about a movie called Nefarious, but it is about a subject that is much bigger than a single movie, and it's pretty rugged, and it involves a lot of adult talk. And so I'm often asked by parents if I'm going to cover such a subject to let them know so that they can take their kids out of the radio dial reach. And so I'm letting you know this is pretty rugged. My guest is a friend of a friend. You've heard me talk about Rich Botkin a lot, is my intrepid buddy from up in Sacramento who goes back and forth to Cambodia every year. And the retired Marine that is Botkin, as General Boykin said, they have to read everything to him, but he manages to get a group of doctors and dentists over to Cambodia every year and then bring him back. And one of the people he's teamed up with over there is my guest this hour, Don Brewster. Don is the founder of Agape International Missions, and he joins me now from Sacramento. Hello, Don. Welcome to the program.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Did I find you in Sacramento? Is that where you still are?
I am getting ready to head back to Cambodia, though.
I'm really sorry that you've fallen in with Botkin.
Well, you know, Rich is a blessing, though.
Well, that's a disguised blessing. That's a. So I want to start with the beginning. I love giving Botkin a hard time. He's going back over pretty soon with my friend Bud the contractor, and I sure hope your building is still standing when they're done with it. But Don, agapewebsite.org is your website, A-G-A-P-E website.org. Let's start by telling people what Agape does in Cambodia.
Okay. Well, we work to stop child sex trafficking. And we do it basically in three different ways. One is through providing aftercare for rescued victims. The other is working in the prevention and rescuing girls. And then finally, we work through the Cambodian Christian Church to use that as a vehicle to help prevent the trafficking of kids around the country.
Now, Don Brewster, a bunch of people are reaching for their radio dials. They just heard child sex trafficking, and they're grossed out, and they don't want to hear about it. Tell them why they should listen to this hour.
Yeah, well, they need to listen because there are literally hundreds of thousands of children, little girls, who need our help. And the truth is, without people from the States, Westerners in general, being involved to help these kids, they will be trapped in a life that will really result in an early death. Somewhere in their 20s is on average how long these kids would live without someone helping to get them out of this evil that they're trapped in.
Do you run into that reaction a lot, Don Brewster, that people hear about this and they just say, "Oh, that is so awful. I don't want to. I want to avert my eyes."
Oh, absolutely. You know, and it is hard. I mean, I'd be the first one to tell you. I mean, we live in a village of Swaipak, which is the pedophile central. Men coming from all over the world, and so we're staring into the face of this all the time, and it is tough. It's a very difficult thing to do. But if we don't face the reality, I just believe we'll lack that sense of urgency in responding to the needs of these, I mean, really babies that are involved in this.
Now, beyond that, beyond the utter disgust, there's also a sense of hopelessness. Thus it has always been. It's sort of like Jesus saying in the gospel, the poor will always be with us. And if right after the poor comes prostitutes, how do you respond to that, Don Brewster?
Well, I think there is I do think that there is that we are not going to fully defeat evil this side of glory. There is a responsibility that Jesus does call us to respond to that need, to free the captives, to bring justice. And the truth is that for each child that is saved, each child is impacted, the ripple effect affects dozens more. So there is a significant impact. Not just temporally, but even eternally, as a Christian would look at it.
Now, Don Brewster, I want to come back, and we got the whole hour to talk about this, and I send people again to the website, agapewebsite.org, AGAPE website.org, to learn about Don and his mission in Cambodia. But I also want to know about you. First of all, how old are you?
I'm 57.
Oh, you're an ancient guy. You're at least 2 years older than me, so that makes you just round the corner. And so how long have you been living in Cambodia?
A little over 6 years.
And so how did you end up going there at the age of 50 or 51?
Actually went on a short-term trip to Cambodia to do some leadership training. Spent a couple of weeks there. Actually was in 14 of the provinces. When the trip was over, I said to myself, thank God I never have to go back to this country again. And a couple of days after we got back into the States, a news show aired called Children for Sale, which dealt with the fact that children were being sold for sex in the country of Cambodia, and we were just blown away by the idea we were there, that actually some of the kids that we were having fun with, that we were trying to help, were no doubt some of those kids were being trafficked that very day that we were there, and it just hit us that we have, my bride and I, we have 3 daughters, and we thought if that was our kid, and we'd want somebody willing to help, and we thought we need to take a look at what's the greatest need, and is there a way we can help?
What had your life been up until the age of 50, 51 when you and your wife decided to go back to Cambodia?
Well, we had our own business. Prior to that, I ran an advertising agency in New York, and then was called into ministry, and I was a executive pastor at a church in Roseville, California, for about 8 years, and went on this trip, and that changed everything for us.
You were an ad guy?
I was.
So you're like a madman.
Yeah, I didn't have near as much fun as they seem to have, but anyways.
I've only seen 3 episodes of the show. I wouldn't be so quick to admit that if you're in the ministry now, that you're in the ministry. And so you went from Madison Avenue to executive pastoring, and from executive pastoring to Cambodia. Do you see yourself, how much longer do you see yourself in Cambodia with your wife?
Can't really say that for sure. We know there's a greater need to develop more of the things we're doing, both in aftercare and prevention. And so, our goal all along is to really empower the Cambodian nationals to do the work. But as we've done that, we've opened 3 homes for aftercare thus far, and special ministries to do the prevention work. We've opened one and getting ready to open another one. And as we continue to expand, that lengthens the time that we're in countries. But so I don't really know for sure.
Now, Don Brewster, when I went down the Dominican Republic with Children International, and I went with Bud the contractor, who will be with you as your guest soon in Cambodia, one of the aid workers told us that child prostitution is so pernicious because the money is so immense, that the pedophile sickos will pay anything that it takes, and that they enter into these deeply impoverished countries and they just buy their way to their evil desires. Is that the problem? It's just too much money to be made?
Yeah, I think that there's that, and it is a lot of money. I mean, you consider a country like Cambodia, where the average person makes between $30 and $40 a month, and if you're selling a kid, again, really we're talking prepubescent girls here, you get about $400, unless they happen to be a virgin. You can get $1,000 to $3,000. So it is there's a lot of money, but there's also beyond that. People will talk about poverty being an issue, and there's no doubt that poverty is an issue too. But the real driving factor behind it is really I believe in Cambodia specifically, is a lack of a moral compass that is the result of what the Khmer Rouge did to that country.
Expand on that. We got a minute to the break. What do you mean a lack of a moral compass?
Well, the Buddhism is supposed to be the religion in Cambodia, but it's not really, because the Buddhist monks were executed under Pol Pot. The Buddhist books were destroyed, And so that moral compass that would say, hey, this is the wrong thing. The family unit, again, was also destroyed by the Khmer Rouge, and the coupling of those two things really taken away that moral compass, that right and wrong of it is not even an issue to be discussed generally speaking, within the country of Cambodia.
I'll be right back with Don Brewster. He is the founder of the Agape International Mission. www.agape or http://agapewebsite.org. Just input Don Brewster and Agape and you'll find him. I'll be right back on the Hugh Hewitt Show. 21 minutes after the hour, Americans, Hugh Hewitt spending the time I would normally spend on the movies, talking about one movie and one mission today, because the movie is nefarious. It's just out, Merchant of Souls. It's a DVD. It's a documentary. You can go and Google it. It's about the international children's sex trade. And it's pretty hard to watch. There's pretty hard conversation to have, but it's something that flourishes because of shadows. So I'm pleased to spend an hour talking about it today. And my guest is unfortunately seen it up front and close for many, many years. Don Brewster is the CEO and the executive director of Agape International Missions. He is featured in the movie Nefarious, which operates in Cambodia, Agape International Missions. Its website is http://agapewebsite.org, AGAPEWEBSITE, agapewebsite.org. Don Brewster, tell people who Benjamin Nolat is and about Nefarious and how you came to get connected with this project.
Benjamin is really the film creator, the director, the storyteller, filmmaker of Nefarious. And Benji became familiar with the evil of sex trafficking and started out to do a small short film to shed light in the darkness, really. And when he began this journey, he recognized that it was much bigger than he had ever imagined, and he ended up spending 4 years going over to 13 different countries to film this movie. And during that time, he happened to come to the country of Cambodia somehow, and I'm not sure how. He was given the name of our ministry and what we're doing over there, and he asked if he could come over and interview me, kind of get a feel for what was happening within the country of Cambodia.
And I assume you've seen the whole Nefarious video now many times.
I've seen it a couple times, yeah, that's
right.
For sure.
It's very shocking at the beginning to see that Moldova is the, what do they call it, the sex trafficking engine of Europe. 400,000 sex trade workers have been exported from Moldova since the fall of the Soviet Union. 10% of the population has been trafficked. The orphanages are corrupt. The orphanage runners are corrupt. I mean, it's shocking, Don, but is that just the Moldovan version of the same thing you're dealing with in Cambodia?
Yeah, and yes, to an extent. And I would say that there is a difference in Cambodia from most other countries, and that is the extent of the young girl trafficking. We have foreign men come into the village of Swai Cambodia, which is just a dusty, dirty little village. Dozens of men coming every single day to try to purchase little girls.
Where do they come from?
They come from all over. There's from the U.S., many Western countries. In addition, probably the majority of them will be coming from South Korea, China, Japan. I mean, the extent of the trade being done by South Koreans is so large that they have places within the town of Siem Reap that will only allow South Koreans to come into the place to buy sex.
Now,
they must book a complete trip from South Korea in order to get into the place.
Can't you just take their pictures and turn them over to Interpol? I mean, or the FBI or any law enforcement agency?
there's more to it, and actually we do that as much as we can. Yesterday, we actually got an audio tape of a guy from the States trying to negotiate with one of our staff members to purchase a 6-year-old girl.
Oh.
And but the extent of the evidence that's needed for a country like ours to prosecute, extradite the pedophile back to the U.S. and stand trial is pretty high. Plus, you're dealing with a non-cooperation by the police and government within the country of Cambodia.
Well, you anticipate my next question. Where are the police? This could not go on in most rule of law countries. Where are they?
Yeah, they're actually a part of the problem. Again, there certainly are some good and honest law enforcement people, but sadly they are the minority in the country of Cambodia. Most are benefit from the trade. I mean, we in Swai Pak, the first building we rented was a former brothel that was shut down by an IJM raid.
International Justice Ministry, IJM. So I wanted to.
No problem. Yeah, and this building was owned by the captain of the police force.
Okay.
Rented it for $2,500 a month, and he was able to get that money because he provided the protection for the owner during that time period. And there are organizations like International Justice Mission that over the last year have continually tried to do raids to rescue kids in Swai Pak, and have been unsuccessful because every single time the traffickers and the pimps are tipped off, and by the time they get to the place where they know the girls were the day before, where they themselves were in getting the undercover footage, they come the next day and there's absolutely no one in the building, completely empty.
How do you manage to get the girls that you've gotten out?
We really do that through relationship. What we try to do is offer things within that community, things that people would have an interest in to meet a specific need. It could be health. It could be health care. We provide education. We do some humanitarian aid. We actually have a Lord's Gym that reaches out to the pimps and the traffickers, the males. And through those relationships, as we get a chance to build those relationships, for God to work through those relationships, we get people that one at a time will be brave and stand up to those who are doing the trafficking and give us information to which we can go to some government ministries which will allow us to gain custody of the girls, to be able to put her in our aftercare program, and there's no need for cooperation with the police. We're able to just be able to we have access to the girls because we live there, and be able to bring them into our aftercare program.
We come back from break. We'll continue the conversation with Don Brewster about his work with the Agape ministry in Cambodia. Agape International Missions is the name of the ministry. Its website is agapewebsite.org, http://agapewebsite.org. Stay tuned. I'll be right back on the Hugh Hewitt Show. 34 minutes after the hour, American Hugh Hewitt spending this hour normally devoted to the movies, to one movie. It is called Nefarious, Merchant of Souls, available on DVD. There's a website for Nefarious as well. One of the people featured in this documentary on child sex trafficking across the globe is Don Brewster, who is my guest. Don is the CEO, Executive Director of Agape International Missions in Cambodia. He is from Sacramento, but he spends most of his time and life with his wife in outside of Phnom Penh now, in a village there. Our friends, Bud the Contractor, Richard Botkin, have been in his home on the past trips to Cambodia. They're going back. Now, let me ask you, Don Brewster, in terms of Nefarious, it said there are 800,000 children in the sex trade in Thailand. There are 1,600 to 2,400 girls working in just one karaoke operation that he filmed in which you were one of the guests. It just seems so massive, and I had no idea. I confess I knew that children's sex trafficking existed in the world, but I had no idea of the scale.
We have been amazed as we've been in country to see the extent, and sadly, there is no slowing down of the demand, which is amazing that can happen to the extent it does. I mean, just the number of foreigners that need to be coming into these countries like Cambodia in order to maintain that volume is mind-boggling.
Let me ask you about the 3 Ps here: the parents, the pimps, and the pedophiles. First of all, where are the parents of these girls?
Well, sadly, in a significant portion of the cases, the parents are at least complicit in their sale, if not selling them directly. Within our aftercare home, 30% of the girls' mothers are in prison for trafficking them. And during their monthly family visits, we actually go to the prison so they can visit their moms.
So the state will prosecute them if they find them occasionally?
They'll prosecute. That's a perfect example. Those who get prosecuted, the moms, the ones at the family level, but the ones above them, the ones that are really making the big money and the ones that drive this really organized crime, those are the ones that are left alone. Very rarely is a pimp or a trafficker ever prosecuted, and when they are, they're normally out of prison in a short amount of time.
I want to talk secondly then about the pimps and the procurers here. In the documentary, they're identified as Eastern Europeans, Serbians, Russians, Moldovans, but in Cambodia, who are they? And are they, if you sit down to talk with them, are they evil people? Do they ooze evil, or are they just people making a buck?
Yeah, there's a combination. I was going to say they ooze evil, but they don't all ooze evil. But a high enough percentage do that it really is scary because of their involvement with the girls on multiple levels. But again, I do think Cambodia is a little different because of the really unique genocide that happened in that country. You know, when we think of a genocide, we think of one side against another. The one side wins. They may wipe out the losing side, but within the side that wins, if there's a religious group, they're still there. The educated group is still there. The families are still intact within that group that wins. In Cambodia, those groups were wiped out across the entire country. As the Khmer Rouge did this genocide, and all families were disrupted by this, and the family units was destroyed. All the educated were executed across the entire country. All the religious, the Buddhists, were executed across the country, and the books burned. And this is recent history, and the country really suffers from that today. And that really has a tremendous impact on families and others that are involved in trafficking the kids to not even consider it as being wrong.
Wow. Let me ask you about the average pedophile customer. And I know there is no such thing as an average pedophile, but who are they, especially those who come from the States? What do they look like? What's their background?
Yeah, they do come in all shapes and sizes. But they range everything from retired military to school teachers to those involved in religion here in the States. They come in all shapes and sizes, and they come. It's interesting. We've had a couple of hundred girls go through our program of aftercare, and in talking to them, going through their therapy, They talk about the different men from the different countries.
Stay there for a moment, Don Brewster. I'll be right back. America, it's the Hugh Hewitt Show. 44 minutes after the hour, America, devoting this hour of the movies not to our genuine regular list with Em at the End Blinking Eye, but to one movie in particular. It's called Nefarious, Merchant of Souls, a new DVD documentary on the child sex traffic industry around the globe with a particular focus on Cambodia, where my guest, Don Brewster, runs a rescue mission, Agape International Missions, for children who are liberated from this. When we went to break, Don, you were saying that the girls that have made it to your program into aftercare are out of the sex business. They talk about their old clients from around the world. What do they say?
And sadly, what they say across the board, almost 100% is the most violent, the most torturous men are American men.
Wow.
100% across the board. They talk about the other countries and the men from those, but just about 100% they talk about that the real pain that they've suffered, the greatest pain, I should say, that they've suffered has been at the hands of American men.
Now, before we run out of time, we have about 7 minutes here, Don. I want you to tell the audience, how does it work? How do you get a girl out? How do you repair her life? And people, how can they help you?
Okay. I'll give you a story, just one girl that really shows what can happen. This young lady was sold by her family to an American pedophile. Actually, he ended up being arrested by our ICE agency, Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents from the States, extradited to the U.S. What they said in their statements were this was the worst case of child sexual abuse they had ever encountered. This guy, when he was done with this girl, 11 years old, by the way, sold her to another American pedophile who forced her to dance on a pool room in the bar he owned in Cambodia while men would bid to have sex with her.
Wow.
He posted the video on the internet, by the way.
Huh.
Now this girl is rescued in this case by International Justice Mission. Did an operation at that bar, and she's brought into our care. Now, comes in, of course, any of the girls coming in have some difficulties with behavior after having been through what they've been, a lack of trust, but more like the most important thing, I think, or the strongest feeling is that they are trash, that they have no value, and the culture really instills this in these kids. And so thinking that they are completely worthless, they feel hopeless, and of course that it reflects in every activity that takes part in their lives.
Yep.
And so now, that thinking has to change, right? They need to recognize that they have value, and in our case, we let them know, they're a princess, they're a child of the king, they're a child of God. And that's all fine, that they are loved and that they are special in his eyes, and that's fine intellectually to get that in their head. But really the transformation that takes place is when they experience that truth through our Cambodian staff, where they are treated like they are special, where they do experience unconditional love. And it's amazing. It's not a fast transformation, but when it happens, you see it click. And in this particular girl here, it was amazing. She had in her heart, she wanted to become a counselor like the ones who had helped her.
Wow.
She wanted to help other girls. And she began to study very hard. In the meantime, she was asked to come to the U.S. to testify against that American pedophile. Now, coming into our court system is child victims are not treated near as well, sadly, as they are treated in Cambodian courts. But this kid from a different country came into our country and went through a packed courtroom, walked through past that jury box, sat in a chair 10 feet from the man who had abused her daily for months, was on the witness stand for over 5 hours, broke down once weeping. The judge asked her if she wanted a break. She said no. And why would this kid do that? Why would she put herself to that? And it was interesting because the LA Times reported on her saying, I just don't want this to happen to any other kids. I don't want another girl to be hurt by a man like this.
Now, you run through Agape, the Restoration Center, Rahab's House. You run a church. You run the Lord's Gym. We got about 2 minutes here, Don Brewster. How can people help you? And if they want to bring their church group to Cambodia, how do they get in touch with you?
Okay, you can go through our website to get connected. We actually have information we can send you that provides a little short DVD about what we're doing and ways that you can specifically get involved. But it can be anywhere from sharing what's going on, building awareness, to coming to Cambodia and being involved in different parts of the ministry. Americans coming to serve with us in Swai Pak is a big advantage because Cambodians are attracted to Americans, and they will become part of our programming, and we have a chance to work on them to see that heart transformation that takes them out of the trafficking business. And of course, as missionaries doing this type of work, we always say giving. We leave that to the end like we think that's a dirty thing to say. But, of course, to run ministries like this that are truly helping kids like that and to do it with a high quality takes finances, too. So we're always happy to take donations.
Where are your donors from primarily?
Actually, they're primarily from California because of my time at the church here in Roseville. Was a fairly large church, but we actually have donors from right now 38 states in 4 different countries. So
if someone wants to get involved, agapewebsite.org is the best place to start?
Yes, it is.
agapewebsite.org, http://agapewebsite.org, or simply go to your Google and type in Agape and Cambodia, and it will come up. Don Brewster, thanks for spending time with us, and God bless your continued efforts to get these girls out of slavery and into some kind of life.
No, thanks for having the courage to share it on your radio show.
Our pleasure. And Nefarious available as well on the website. Just Google up Nefarious Merchant of Souls if you want to get a bigger view than just Cambodia. But if you want to get involved and do something about this, go to the website now, agapewebsite.org. Thank you, Don Brewster. I'm coming right back with Tarzana Joe to finish off this week. Don't go anywhere, America. It's the Hugh Hewitt Show. 55 minutes after the hour, America. Thank you all for a wonderful week of radio. Thank you, Adam and Dell. And newbie Nick, who's doing just great as our new intern, Dwayne, of course. And we're joined by Tarzana Joe, as in Tarzana Joe at hotmail.com. Hello, Joe.
Hello, Hugh. You know, we poets look with anticipation at this stimulus to this jobs bill because we're all out of work. So, we're waiting for what's going to be in that package for us.
And
thus the poem is Stimulus Part 2, or Part Déjà Vu. The country's in an awful mess. No doubt you must have seen it. Our plan's designed to make some jobs. This time, we really mean it. We thought the stimulus would work, with gains both strong and steady. Alas, the projects that we picked were not quite shovel-ready. All those bridges didn't get built. No highways did we widen. Who knew it'd be so tough to get those permits past Joe Biden? To get those projects off the ground, you had to go through channels, unless you claimed the money was for making solar panels. For part of our prodigious plan to get you off your knees required that we hire firms that had no expertise. The genius of the enterprise to get the country humming had roofers putting in your sinks and carpenters out plumbing. All right, so we made some mistakes. Don't give us any static. And yes, we spent $200,000 to insulate one attic. But we've learned our lesson now, and now we've got it right. Why bother with debating? Because we don't have time to fight. Let's do this with devotion like the kind we see in cults. We promise half the spending will get 3 times the results. That's Stimulus Part 2, and I'm waiting, by Tarzana Joe.
That's very sad to contemplate that is indeed the math behind the Stimulus Act, Joe.
You got it.
Thank you, Joe. Once again, if for all your poetry needs, you can write Joe an email. He does commissions. Are you less busy now, Joe?
I'm always busy.
Well, that's good, but you'll still accept new commissions.
Absolutely.
All right. Tarzana Joe at hotmail.com and Stimulus Doe, or Do? What did you, Deja Vu? Do will be posted at tarzanajoe.blogspot.com?
Correct.
Thank you, Joe. And thanks all of you for listening. It's been an extraordinary 10 days of radio here at the Hugh Hewitt Show. And I hope you enjoyed Pat Boone today. I hope you get out and get Tim Gagline's brand new book, Man in the Middle. Hope you were touched by the testimony about what is going on in Cambodia. If you missed it, I hope you go and listen over at the Universe to the interview with Associate Justice of the Supreme Court Stephen Breyer. It's long, it's in depth, and it's there. The best kind of conversation you can possibly have with an accountable leader in a democracy, even though they're unelected. And I want to point that out to you. Also over at the Universe, you can get the Dick Cheney interview. I hope to have the Vice President back next week. And wherever you are, I will be back here, God willing, on Monday. So do not miss, except for the Universe, the Hugh Hewitt Show.